A friend of mine said, Siro, where are the drinks? Where are the Gianni? And I said, oh, the drinks will come. And then, okay, and this guy comes from already about 10, 15 people, and this guy from Chichester, who remember me in Chichester, that was already very dizzy, he said, Siro, what are you doing here? Well, I said, I'm here for the opening, but the opening is tomorrow. When he said that, I had already about 20 people, and it was the first time I met Fanny, which is great, she's an art critic. And Fanny told Lara, but is that your friend? Is he always like that? And she arrived with a bunch of flowers. And I said, Eva, I said, I'm sorry, the exhibit is the wrong date. And she said, oh, doesn't matter for you, this doesn't matter. So we all went to the bar. There were about 20 people, and then Keith went with his wife, and he said, I had the most private view scene of it. And my wife. And then the day after, when I left, the guy from Chichester said, Siro, the exhibition is tomorrow, not after tomorrow. No. Do you remember that was a
flowers?
Hilarious. I love it.
Oh, that's great.
Hi, Eloise.
Hi, Siro.
How do you do?
I'm fine, how are you?
I'm fine, how are you? Yes. Long time.
Long time.
So,
Siro, tell me about your about COVID era, about lockdowns, about all this time that we all went through. Have you been in London?
yes, we've always been in London. COVID, very strange time, isn't it?
Yeah.
How did I live in COVID? There's one word that I could describe COVID: surreal. Surreal. That's the first one that comes to my mind.
And have you been able to work during COVID time? Did you go to your studio? Was it different? Your routine has changed, or how it was?
Be honest with you, did my routine change? No, because I'm always a workaholic. So in the lockdown, it became even more almost an addiction. I was there almost every day. And 2020, the summer was such a beautiful hot summer, and I would go on the bike to my studio really almost every day. And I used to go all around London, streets that I've never been before. It's again surreal. However, there was a kind of, in this surrealism, there was a kind of fear, maybe, fear of the unknown, because we didn't know. Every day, you hear today 200 people, 500 people died, 700, 1,000. It was just like you think, what is this? I don't know if it helped me, but my creativity went on and on and on like crazy. It never stopped. I was always on a high, like I was on drugs, and I'm not. I never was.
You're just Italian.
Sorry?
You're just Italian.
Yeah. It was really something that I don't think any one of us could really feel the heaviness of that time. And there were moments really I kept on and on painting. And it did change as well, my work.
Right.
Yeah. It changed in a way that it came from a figurative background to completely abstract. And my subconscious, I think, said, it felt like that I couldn't do any characters, any faces, all became abstract. All through that year. And I did so many paintings. 20, 30, I didn't even count it. It was just...
you say that you were not able to. So this is, maybe we can switch the lights on. Yeah. So these are your usual paintings that you are more or less recognized of.
Yes.
And then what do you think what has happened that you were not able? This is this, like you said.
Yes, no, I never know what I do when I go to the studio. I never know, because if I think about making, some people, you know, make a project, like when I was in university, they tell me every time I try to make a project or it doesn't work. I try to do it and every time I don't think about it, something happened without thinking about it, and the story happened, right? The story happened, like in this matter, in this one, I saw the film, The Jokers, and I got the ideas of these people in New York, and it's called New York Jokers. This came just like that. During the lockdown, when it started, I just went to the studio. Every time I tried to do a face or something, it just didn't happen. So one day, I just threw a canvas on the floor, and from there, those things happened. That happened at about, at least, I think, about 20 of them. All very big like that. At least more, probably more actually. I never counted them yet. And it went completely abstract. And I was always, and the title, don't ask me now, because one is called Constant Energy, one is called maybe, I don't remember the title, maybe this is called whatever.
Chaos, something with chaos.
Chaos, that's a fixed, constant chaos. It was the chaos of the time we were living. Although there was no chaos in the streets around us, there was just silence. I remember going home in the evening, going through Soho, Covent Garden, and I used to think, because I live nearby, and I used to think, you know, people lived here, or they still live, obviously, but I didn't see them. So a part of me loved that. It was beautiful, it was magical. However, there was a fear, because you think what's going to happen, you know. And those paintings, so it's a chaos. I think maybe there was a chaos inside me, inside our minds. There must have been chaos, I was thinking, because, you know, people were dying, and there was this illness. And so it went like that, all abstract. And it was an incredible time in many ways. Talking about you, I think, it went to the opposite way somehow.
Yes, it did. It did. What happened to me, it is, I should start from a few weeks before first lockdown, that on the news you could hear that COVID, and there was you could feel the wave, the big tsunami coming, but you don't know exactly what is this. For those who don't know, I live in a warehouse with 10 other people, and some of them are younger. They were still saying it's just a flu. They were going to some events. They were, some of them were working. So my partner Wojtek, he's got an asthma, and anyway, for us, it was, we decided that we would sneak away to Wojtek's studio in Waterloo. So we spent all this COVID era in mainly in Waterloo. And now when we left, I just took a few things with me, not knowing that it's gonna be for that long.
Wow.
And the first lockdown was incredible experience, because obviously you don't really know what this beast is all about, what's gonna happen. Lockdown, this is, as you said, it looks all surreal, empty streets, and that was really a setup rather than the place I know. But then what happened to me, I have a studio in the warehouse where I lived for now 13 years, and I had no access to it. And so things has changed a little bit for me. So first few months I paid maybe a little bit, and actually not in the studio but outside in the mules. But then, warehouse where I live, some people use the workshop for office work, for different kind of activities, that my space was occupied. And then I started to work in a completely different studio that was available within the warehouses. And initially I thought I will do this I'm not going to paint there, but I will do these installations that I had in mind, and I started to put these things together. Obviously I am lacking engineering skills, so everything collapsed. But then somehow again, what was very haunting, intriguing, these thoughts in my mind, people dying, we all going through the same experience, and not we, this is just global experience. The world stopped for a little while, then nature became, a little bit alive in a different way. Something has changed, and I think I started to deal and explore this fundamental old age existential question about us, about humanity, life, meaning of life, etc., etc. And this became something that I thought, it's incredible. It is a symbol of this time. So many people wear it. So we became anonymous.
Everything on television, yeah.
It was all actually, that was protection, but in a way it is our existence as where is individual and where the collective, how important we are for each other, this interdependence, that when the humanity is under threat, we are really gathered, we are all together. And that was this object that became that repeats in my installations again and again. And I started to create these installations. Nature. So I started to look for the elements, the factors that would help me to create the presence of our world. So this image, this object became a human life. There was a movement there was a light, sound that we could hear that was very inspirational. And then I continued working in this studio until March 2022, so 2 months ago, and in the meantime it was the war. So my time in the studio was really directly on the work that I explored there were very much about reflection, and they resonate to the outside world that we all experienced. This is how I would describe my COVID era and what COVID has done in my studio.
Still, the COVID brought out a lot of things in you that you may didn't know somehow that you could ever. And in the same for me, it brought out like a way of painting that I didn't know in different ways, coming from a theory to an abstract thing.
Yeah.
When you were more almost figurative.
Yes,
if
for
you want
me
to make
it was
it.
this.
Because before you were abstract, only abstract, were you? We can see one painting.
Abstract.
No one.
The blue one, the red one, and I am predominantly painter. So that was what I concentrate in my usual art practice, and then I became to talk about us in more representative way.
Where do we go from here?
I think we are like travelers. Travelers don't know where they go.
Yeah. So the COVID era seems to have gone, in a way. So we are out of COVID, unless something else happened. So far, we are okay. And my question has always been really, well, that's my question every day. But where do I go from here? It is a deep question. It doesn't go just for work. But where do we go from here? Like you, where the right thing will take you? That would be interesting to find out in a month, in 6 months, or whatever.
Maybe in a few years.
Only a few years, who knows? And it'd be interesting about where my journey will take me. But we got this different ways.
Yes.
Because COVID.
Because of COVID.
I can only really think like that from COVID. Yeah.
So we can thank COVID for this.
Goodness me.
So we have few images that can show just the samples of what we did.
Yeah,
so this is Siro's.
Some of them were there are maybe 4 or 5 there. And again, they were all really abstract. And they became so quickly, they were free, one after another, many, and they're all very big, on that side. All because of COVID.
Wow. Is this new?
All the 2020, all COVID. And there are 3 huge wooden things, and they've been there for a long, long time. I work a lot on wood. These are very big. Stop there. So they were there. I didn't know what to do with them. And one day, this was the beginning of all of them. I really was thinking, COVID bollocks. And all the news, blah blah, every day, blah blah blah. Do I get COVID myself? Maybe no, because I'm quite naive, really, and as a person, I never get worried about anything. So I never wore a mask or anything. I was free to go on my bike, bollocks to everybody, I thought. Anyway, I put one of them on the floor, and this happened. I had a lot of enamel painting, there's plastic, and then there's iron, there's a lot of these they came so quickly, one after another, most of them on the floor, and I called this the COVID project. That was the title, and there was a lot written about it, which would be too long to read it right now. Really about the COVID, about my emotion, my feelings about that time. From these 3, then all the others came, probably about 20 of them. This was the beginning, and this was called the COVID project. I believe a lot, we work from the subconscious. I am, anyway. I am. I'm a progress artist. I do not know what I do most of the time. I really don't.
What does mean a progress artist?
Sorry?
A progress artist.
Hmm.
What does it mean?
Progress. But, I don't even know. They told me in university I was a progress artist. Well, it means basically that I don't know what I'm doing. But what I'm doing, sorry, I mean, yeah. So what? And while I'm doing something, the title or the meaning of what I'm doing comes up wrong. So it's a progress. You understand? It doesn't happen by thinking. Usually, it doesn't. Like this doesn't happen by thinking. Then, when I started, maybe 1, 2, or 3 phases, then the title comes. And then, on the first one already, halfway through, I was thinking, wow, this could be the comic project. But don't ask me why, because it didn't. It just came.
You see your prime on instantaneous.
Sorry?
Your prime on instantaneous.
Yes. And then that's why it's progress. And that taking me to that, you can see is a follow-up. Probably different than Carolina. Carolina was explaining before, she thinks probably differently than me, obviously.
Yeah.
You think differently than me. You're much more, before you do something, you think a lot, somehow.
Well, I might be thinking intellectually. So what happened with me during COVID was this: you can't escape from the news, and we have, especially we listen to BBC Radio 4 almost all the time, 24 hours, and all these news were there, all this analysis. So you can't stop thinking about, okay, this is what is happening there, these are the news, but there is something, different, something bigger. That I'm not saying that I'm looking for answer, but who we are, how we behave during this particular period of time, and honestly, what I would wish that what I would wish it is that humanity, people have a longer memory. The memory is very short, and now we've forgotten about the tragic thing, what we could change, what we could. Anyway, we are in another crisis now. So, no need to talk about it, but it was my every big thing make some people think a little bit more intellectually. And I think what I did was more intellectual. Oh, so this is when I first moved to the studio and I started to do this, whatever I thought I would do. And actually, this, whatever I was trying to do, already collapsed. So I thought, oh, maybe I can do something else. And this is how it started, with this overall that became quite meaningful. That's a nature, that's a different way of just few samples of.
You never did these installations before?
Never before. So that was a movement.
That's really nice.
I don't know how to make it loud. But that is a sound actually, that I don't know how to do it. That was actually, I knew that I would be leaving very soon, and that was my some interpretation of a queen. So especially the previous one was this. She's there, she's present, but she's inaccessible. You can't really touch her. She's real, but she's not with us. So it was just a little bit of this as well, but still dealing with us, them, we, I, not sure. I don't know how to play the sound.
Looks lovely.
What is the sound? Can you describe it?
So there is a little bit of the whatever it might be. I don't know why it is switching on. No, it's that. And then there is also you could hear the sound of this fan that makes the movement. So in these few images that I play, it's actually the history of my studio time from this very first one. Installation that never happened, to actually what it became, and the end of the story that this little video is saying.
It's almost like that you leave the COVID behind there and put the coat and go.
Indeed, it feels like that's the end, although supposedly we still live in this COVID
But for the time,
era. It's still there, but we are not affected by it
until the next time.
anymore.
It's lovely. Thank you. Oh. That was great.
Yeah.
Really good.
I have a question.
Yeah.
So I noticed you've got the